Welcome to this Gcse Welsh Bacc student support screencast for the individual project. This video focuses on writing your aims and objectives. For the aims and objectives, the success criteria is as follows. You need to create 2 or 3 aims. We'll explain more specifically about aims and objectives and what they are later in this video. For each aim, you require 2 objectives. Again, that'll be explained later on in this video. Your aims need to be numbered and you need to be using what's referred to as action verbs. In regards to guidance about what you need to do to achieve certain grades, they are as follows. For an A star to A, you should be using 3 aims, okay, with 2 objectives for each. You can have more objectives, but 2 is the minimum. For a B, C or pass, okay, the requirement is that you have 2 aims and 2 objectives. For this example regarding aims and objectives, we're going to be looking at creating 2 aims with 2 objectives. So what do you need to answer to achieve that? The first part is focusing, or the first aim is focusing on your primary research. So the first part you have to answer is, what do you want to find out from your primary research? Remember that primary research is research that you conduct. Secondary research, which we'll explain later on, is research that's already been done and research that you'll find on the internet and that you use in your project. The second part is, how are you going to conduct or collect your primary research? So for the interest of this project, a questionnaire is definitely the most effective way to collect primary research. Okay, so we'll be talking about how to create a questionnaire and how to share it and use it. What am I going to do with the primary research results? Okay, so this is how you use the data and information that you collect from your questionnaire. Then we're looking at the second aim, which is your secondary research. What do you want to find out from your secondary research? The second one then, how you conduct or collect your secondary research, and then finally how you're going to use the secondary research results. You might notice there that they do reflect each other because they are very similar. You've got the top 3 bullet points for primary, and then the 3 at the end is for the secondary. So what we've got here are sentence starters for aim 1. So the question is, what do you want to find out from your primary research? And the sentence starter doesn't really change because you're all doing primary research. So to perform and analyze primary research, to understand attitudes towards. Now at this point, this is where you focus on the question that you've selected. We've got an example which we'll work through at the end. You might notice just below that box I've just read from, you've got some action verbs that you might want to use. The second one then is the objective. Now, how am I going to collect my primary research? So objective 1.1, notice that it's numbered. To create a questionnaire to understand attitudes towards, and that bit that you fill in will virtually be exactly the same as what you just filled in for the first box. Objective 2 then, for aim 1, or 1.2 as it's been numbered here. What am I going to do with the primary research results? So the objective would be to analyze the information / data collected and display the results in graphs. Now I'm going to take this point just to talk a little bit about the difference between an aim and an objective. They work together, but essentially an aim is an overall picture, what you want to achieve. So in this regard, it's to understand attitudes towards whatever your subject is. The objectives are almost like the steps that you need to take to complete your aim. So if I use a sporting example, okay, an athlete that wants to achieve a gold medal in the Olympics, that would be their aim, to achieve a gold in the Olympics. Their objectives then are the strategies or tactics that they need to take to get to that goal. So your objective might talk about a training schedule, it might talk about a diet plan, it might talk about events that you need to enter, anything that contributes to you achieving the overall aim. This will probably be clearer in the next few slides. So we're going to do exactly the same sentence starters for aim 2. Now this simply is focused on secondary research. Now remember, secondary research is research that has already been done by someone else. So when you go onto the internet and you find out data and information about a subject, that is secondary research because it was done by someone else, it wasn't done by you. So the sentence starter: to collect and analyze secondary research to understand, and again then in those 3 dots you would talk about your question. The way you formulate it will probably be very similar to the way that you formulated aim 1. The second part then looks at how you are going to conduct your secondary research. This takes place these days mostly on the internet. You might use a library or a secondary source like that, but for Gcse most students tend to use the internet to identify the relevant sources to use. And the final objective then is, what are you going to do with your secondary research results? So to analyze the information data collected to understand, and again you're adding there very much your question focus and what you're trying to find out. Now it's probably worth me just mentioning about going on to do that third aim. Now the third aim, you have to really decide on what you want to do with the data. So let's say we use the example in the next slide. I'll offer some ideas about what you could do for a third aim. So now in front of you, you've got a completed example from a student from a previous year group. So if we look at the top, you've got aim 1, to perform and analyse primary research to understand attitudes towards social media and the impact on mental health. That is linked directly to the question that was selected by the student. Objective 1.1 then: to create a questionnaire to understand attitudes towards social media and the impact on mental health. Notice that it is written basically the same in both parts, the aim and the objective. Objective 1.2 then: to analyse the information/data collected and display the results in graphs. You will need to use the data that you collect from your questionnaire, and you will need to present it, which will be shown in a later screencast. At this point, you are just planning how you are going to analyze your data. If we look at the bottom then, the aim 2, to collect and analyze secondary research to understand attitudes towards social media and the impact on mental health. Again, the end of that after the sentence starter is very similar to aim 1. Objective 2.1, to use the internet to identify reliable sources focused on the impact of social media on mental health. Again, the end there focuses, or is very similar to what you've said in aim 2. Objective 2.2, to analyse the information/data collected and draw conclusions based on the evidence. Now that is a good example of aims and objectives for 2. Now for those people who want to add an aim, for a question like this, you might want to do an aim such as to understand what strategies could be put in place to support people who have been affected by social media mentally. Okay, that might be the third aim, where you start exploring strategies that possibly other schools or other countries have successfully used to support people with mental health illnesses due to social media interaction. But as I said at the start, you don't have to do 3 aims. 2 aims is enough, but certainly those people aiming for an A or an A star, we advise that you go for the 3rd aim. So all we've done here is set it out how it should be set out in your project. So you can see in the grey box in front of you, you've got the aim followed by the objective 1.1, 1.2. Then you've got below that aim 2 with the objective 2.1 and 2.2. So let's go through our success criteria. We've got those 2. Action verbs, they've been used all the way through and they've been numbered. So that there is a perfect example of how you would set out your aims and objectives for your individual project. Now, what I suggest is that you now look on screen, and you can use these sentence starters to formulate your aims and objectives right now, just simply by hitting the pause button, so all of those sentence starters are on screen for you to use. But remember that the 3 dots, you have to fill in that part and you have to link it to your question and what you're wanting to find out. If you are unsure, please just watch the video again and look at the example that we have shared. I hope this screencast has been useful for you regarding aims and objectives. Thanks for watching.